myeloma 1 year ago from today. 1 year ago he was being carted in and out of a bazillion different kinds of tests to check the status of his bones, of his kidneys, of every part of his body. And I really didn't give thought to like what will I feel on the anniversary date of all of that. But I can tell you that I felt this huge heaviness, just like a big heavy blanket thrown over me, and a heavy kind of buffer between me and everything around me. I think it's called grief. I feel like if I really drop into it, there's a whole lot of tears there. So I need to do that later, I think. Last night I laid in bed and my head was just racing, and it was just kind of looking at the choices that I've made or that we've made, and kind of where we are on the farm and where we are in our lives, where we are in our parenting, just all of it. My brain was racing fast because to like drop out of the racing, I would have to drop into the heaviness of what I was actually feeling. So now I'm feeling the heaviness. I don't like feeling this heaviness. It's kind of like moving through sludge. It's hard to think straight. I feel it's not numb, it's just heavy. You know, and I'm mindful that it's a huge blessing that Tim's alive. You know, there were so many moments this past year when I was very aware that we could easily lose him, and there was one weekend where we almost did lose him. And it feels hard to really be present to the grief and to the heaviness, because a lot of people do lose the one they love on this kind of a journey, and a lot of people aren't given any kind of warning. It just happens. My brother-in-law lost his sister, Sarah, and she left behind several children, and it was just fast and traumatic and like a tornado that just ripped apart her family. It hasn't been like that for us. It's been just this slow kind of tsunami of a creep, but not like a fast rushing one, but like a slow, where it just came in and infiltrated everything. And it had been doing that for a while, and I've likened it to a portal that you go through, and like you can't go back through the other way and reclaim that former life, because when you go through, you become something different. And that's not all bad. But it is different. And I do, in this moment now, feel some envy for people who don't have to know this in a really intimate way. I feel grief for opportunities that just will no longer be. One of our family bucket list items was to take the girls to Italy and just share the experience of Italy with them, because it's where a lot of our home cooking comes from. We've watched oodles and oodles of documentaries and shows and movies about Italy, and just sharing the culture and the experiences with them. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if dialysis will allow for that. I don't know if funding will allow for that. I just don't know. I'm trying to really look at my thoughts and not allow for negativity to seep in, because that's death. And yet it feels like, to just keep my mind open to the possibility of miracles that allow for this kind of life that we hoped for with our girls. Part of me is just like, well, what planet are you on? You've seen this journey for other patients that you've served before. That doesn't, Italy's not a part of that. Traveling outside of the country is not a part of that. Those are all the things that are just kind of sitting heavy with me, and I think I'm feeling also a loss of freedom and a loss of kind of this carefreeness that I can freely make choices that don't have to consider the implications, because that freedom's gone, because I am the sole provider in my family. All of the things that we have and the way things run, they're kind of dependent upon me not just running with my whims and my wishes and my desires. At least that's what I tell myself. So I'm trying to really open myself to explore how can it all exist, being responsible and choosing responsibility and being free and experiencing the feeling of freedom within that responsibility. My girls would sometimes call me pessimistic, or that I kind of bring in the negative sometimes, but I think I feel more like a realist, and I have to consider those things, because I just do. I feel like being a responsible parent and mother and keeper of my family, and I love a good adventure more than anyone, or as much as anyone. So I think that's something that I am going to invite in and welcome in, is what can adventure look like inside of this life that we're in right now, inside of these responsibilities, inside of being a co-pilot to Tim on this continued journey. And how can I show up all of it. The freedom to choose in each moment how I show up. The freedom to choose my mental state. The freedom to choose my way of responding. And that can be the kind of expression that comes across my face. It can be the tone in my voice. I want to really play in that kind of freedom and really feel it as that. Feel it that it's, everything is a choice, and I get to choose how I experience, myself in all situations. The freedom to lean into my grief. So, those are the things that I'm contemplating 1 year from the day that Tim was transferred from the West Bend Hospital to the Frederick